This is my first time seeing somebody make moccasins, so I'm excited to learn about it. Alrighty, Cassandra, are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself and turn it over to you. If people have questions, do we want them to go ahead and put it in the chat box, and maybe we can stop? Like maybe if we need to go back and ask about how to do something specific, should we have maybe put it in the chat box or?
Yeah.
Do that. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't know you were asking me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That you were just telling them.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, for those of you attending, if maybe you need us to go back and break down something a little bit more, just go ahead and put that in the chat box. We'll be monitoring that throughout the class. Then we can stop and circle back. So without further ado, we'll turn it over to you, Cassandra.
Okay, Mado for Native Connections sponsoring this workshop today. Cassandra Thompson, Jahu Jifkados, Bethogalgit Amandolados, Ijoelgi Amalegados, Wige Jabova Mikasoka Joko Dos. I am Deer Clan. I am from Fish Pond, Troubletown, and I attend Springfield United Methodist Church. And I've been making moccasins for over 10 years. And I first started when I was at the College of Muskogee Nation. That's where I learned how to make them. And then over the years, when I would see workshops or different things like that, I would try again. My first one wasn't perfect, but I started really enjoying it. And I was like, this is really easy. I feel like that any kind of craft you do, especially if it's a cultural craft or art, it's like an act of sovereignty. You know, you're learning something about your culture, and then you are also learning how to do something that could be used for survival. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. And so I'm just going to go over the supplies that probably have already came in your kit. And if not, you know, you don't have to have all this. I think that you have everything you need in there. So first is the book, and it has the instructions toward the back. It also has like some history if you have a chance to look at that. But right in the middle is right where it starts. And your moccasin leather. And then you need like a poster board or like a bag or something like that you can put your pattern on. A ruler. And I think you got this awl, and that's for punching your holes. And with that, you'll need something like either cardboard folded over so that when you punch the holes, it doesn't go through to your table. And we had a good tip last time. Somebody used a cutting board. So that was really good. And then you get your sinew. I think you should have plenty of that. And then your needles. And then like an index card. If you don't have an index card, we could probably use the paper or poster board, or you don't need it at all. And then your pen or marker. And this right here is something extra. Instead of this all, what I've learned over time is that I like this better, but it costs more money. And you can get a lot of your supplies at Tandy Leather in Tulsa. But this was at Walmart, and it's only like $2. But this one is like, I think 25 or 30. So it's just like a hole punch, but it makes the holes just like the awl, and it's not as hard on your hand. The next thing is your scissors. So this one is actually leather scissors, and it just helps it cut. If you sew or anything like that, like my daughter or my grandma do, or my mom does, they say, don't use my sewing scissors. And I didn't learn that until like I had got these leather scissors, and I'm like, don't touch my leather scissors because it'll mess up your scissors to use paper and stuff like that. But it works great on the leather. So if you don't have leather scissors and you have regular scissors, those will still do fine. And if you want to get better at this and keep trying and keep making more, I would invest in these. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And like I said, you can follow along in your book. And the first thing we're going to do is step 1, and that is tracing your foot. And I think Nancy's going to bring a picture on the front, on the main screen. And it's going to show a tracing of your foot. Just get close to the sides of your foot. Make sure that you're standing straight up and not kind of like leaned or to the side. But it's just to get an idea of how round your foot is and the size of it. And you don't have to do both sides, you can just do one. And it's easier if you have someone to help you, but if you don't, that's fine too. And what this helps is that you're not having to bend up and down to try to do all these, this pattern making. Your pattern making is going to be the hardest part of all of this. Once you get to the sewing part, it becomes really easy. So your next step, if you've done that, I hope I give you enough time. If not, Nancy will let me know if I need to slow down. You'll cut out your traced foot. So here's my traced foot. As you can see, it's not like perfect. I just rounded my edges of, I didn't do like each toe. And you'll just cut that out as close as you can to your markings. I'm gonna get situated here a little bit and move some things around while y'all do that. I'll wait a few more minutes or a minute, and then we'll go on to the next step. I'll get my instructions back out. So I'm going to go on to step 2. And so I got my cutout. And the next thing you're going to do is pretty simple. It's nothing that's going to be used right now, but it will help you in the end. You'll get your cutout and you're going to fold it kind of like you would a hot dog, like a hot dog looks like this. And then you're going to fold it one more time over to the side. So once you unfold it, it's going to create like the imaginary line of the center of your foot. And if you were to like put this up against your foot, like right now, you would tell that that's almost the widest part of your foot, but it's where your heel or your ankle turns up toward your leg. So if that makes sense. So here's your foot and it goes up like that. So that's that part right there. And that kind of gives you an idea of like where your moccasin, how far to sew it up. So then the next part, you're going to get your paper or your poster board. And what I like to do is use the edge because it's already straight and I don't have to like put it right in the center and figure out the bottom part, and it just really helps. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to get your cutout and you try to put it in the center so that way you know you have enough space. That way if you have a larger foot, you have enough space for your pattern. And on step 3, it says you can use your pinky or a 1/2 inch from the bottom. So if you wanted to use your ruler, you would do a 1/2 inch from the bottom and then just make your little line. But you could also just do your pinky and do a little line. You can see that I just made a little line. And then the next step, we are going to put our heel kind of like where that line would hit. Let me get this other screen so you can kind of see right here. You can see it. Anyways, your heel will hit that, and that's where you're going to trace it, okay? And I'll show you again here in a second. So go ahead and trace your foot again. And the reason why I have people like go ahead and trace their foot, it's easier to do it this way for me instead of having to like stand up and then try to trace it and then trace both of your feet and then just getting up and down. So then the next thing you're going to do after you trace your foot is you're just going to get your cutout and then flip it over this way so it looks like both feet are standing next to each other. And you might want to leave just a little bit of space in between. They don't have to be like right next to each other. And I'll show you this here in a second. I'm going to show you this. So if you see that, I'm going to show both screens. It's just both of your feet next to each other. And that little line you made, that little 1/2 inch is where your heel should hit. So now you've already done steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to go on to 5. And 5, it's good to get like a piece of your sinew. And what you'll do is wrap it around the widest part of your foot like this. And I'm going to do mine real quick. So if you can see in the picture, it's usually right below your pinky toe and right below your big toe. And you'll wrap it around to see how wide it is. And this is so that we make sure that our moccasin is big enough. So this pattern right here is just for one pair or one side. And then we'll make the other side kind of like how we did our feet. And I'll show you that here in a second. So the string, you'll cut it to where they meet up. So this is how wide my foot is. So like in shoemaking, that's what they do. They try to make sure that like when you have a wide foot, wide width, that's what mine is. So I hope y'all see that. And what you're going to do next is just kind of put it across that same area on your traced out and in the center. And you're just going to make a little dash on the ends. That just kind of help. That's just a guide. So y'all can see that. And it's just a guide for you for later. And then on step 6, you're going to get your cutout and put it back on top of one of them. And so where you see that center line is, you're going to get your ruler and put it on that center line. If you want to zoom in on that, you can. So see, there's that line, the imaginary line, putting that across. And it doesn't really matter how long you make the line. It just goes straight across. Okay. So there's that. And we've done measured the other part. We've already done 7. Now we're on to 8. And what we're going to do now is you will make an arch around both of the feet. And so what I would do is you can either get measure this right here, like it's almost an inch, and you can do that all the way around. You can go like this and make you some dots and then connect the dots and go all the way around your foot if you want, and then just like connect it. So, but I'll go ahead and do it just so y'all know how to do it. So it's almost an inch, and I'm just going to put the dots going around my foot. And right here, I'm just going to go in just a little bit. And then back up. And you're just going to continue that all the way around. That one kind of is a little bit off, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to connect these dots. Oops. And this, once you get this down, it's pretty simple. Some people you could have probably just put both of your feet on here and then traced it that way. But I figured that back in the day, that's probably what they did. They probably just laid out the leather and then stood on it and then tried to make sure that it was about that fit their foot good enough. So we've already did 5 through 8. And the next part, we're going to do number 9. Do we want to stop and do a poll or anything, Tyler? I'll go ahead and go on to the next step, and I'll wait to hear from them. So
Oh,
this one,
I'm sorry. Yeah, we can go ahead and do a poll. I'm sorry, I just had a phone call.
okay, that's fine. Go ahead and do, I guess one of them will be good.
Yeah, I think one will be good, and also two something in the chat I'll get to here in a minute. So here's our question here, looking at protective factors. I believe my native culture helps me handle stress, sadness, or anger. Or unsure. All right. Most people said yes, they believe that their native culture helps them handle stress, sadness, or anger. That's awesome. And what we call that protective factors. Protective factors are those things in our lives that we go to whenever we're feeling some of those big emotions like stress or anxiety or depression. And for a lot of people, what we know is that practicing your culture, whether it's bead work, moccasin work, going to stomp dances, talking to elders, talking to family, these are things that help us whenever we are feeling stressed, or helps us manage a lot of these big emotions. So hopefully after today, this can be kind of a therapeutic thing for you to learn not only to connect with your culture more, but to also learn how to cope with some of the life stressors that we go through. Cassandra, we actually had a question here in the chat that says, can we review all the steps, I guess, that we've covered so far?
Yeah, so if you'll look in your little pad, your little booklet, right there in the front, there's also a link that shows me doing the same presentation on YouTube. So if you want to go there, or you can also email me. I have my information on there. I've had people just email me or text me and ask me questions, and I can get with you right then. It's easier for me with text than to get with you immediately. But the email, you can also email me and I'll get back with you within a day or so. And I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Is that all right, Tyler?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So when he was talking about stress and things like that, one of the things that I like to do whenever I am doing crafting or anything like that is put on my best music. So we're going to put on some Muskogee jams. If you like to put on your jams or just listen to ours, that's fine too. But we like to do that whenever in my household, we just pretty much turn off the TV and then turn on our jams and get going. So I have a mom who sews, a daughter who sews, and then I do random things, and then the other one does workout. So we're all in like our stations, and we just got the music going. So if you've gotten to this part so far, you're doing good. I want to let you know right now, the reason why I stopped there is you need to decide is if you want flaps or not on your moccasins. So sometimes the flaps are like at an angle, and then this one that I made, I did not make an angle. I did it straight. So that way, if I ever wanted an angle, I could put it on there. And I like both, but it's just up to you if you want to start out that way. So if you don't want an angle, what I would do is go about 2 inches above that line that you made, or an inch above that line. I guess it would be almost like a ruler size above, and make a line going out. But if you want the flaps, that's what this little piece of paper is for. It's an index, like almost the size of an index card, but you can use a regular piece of paper. And you can fold it. And what you'll do is you put it this way where these two lines meet, intersect. You'll lay it across that line. It might be better to do it this way so you can kind of see. And then you'll just make a line going out. And what that's going to do, it's going to create your flap. And then you'll do the same thing over here. You'll flip it over. So here's where the lines intersect. And then you will go like that. So if you wanted to do your flaps from there, you'll just go at that point. Usually these are like 2 to 3 inches long, just because you have to think about where your ankle hits and where the ground hits. So you don't want them too long. And then you'll just get your ruler, put it right there. And even if it's off a little bit and you go wide, we can still fix that later. And then from there, you're just going to make your line go straight down. And then we are pretty much done with our pattern. So here's my pattern, the one without the flaps going at a curve or at an angle, a triangle. That's that one. So what you'll do is just cut that on the outside of the edges of your line. That's what you're going to do to make your moccasin. So I'm going to give you some time. We're going to turn up the music and let you cut that out, okay? And I'm going to cut out this one too. If you want, real quick, I can go over what we've done. So we've traced our foot. And Nancy, if you're available, I forgot that I had taken pictures of the close-ups, and we'll just flip through them real quick. So we traced our foot, and then we cut it out, and then we used our poster board or long paper to trace it back onto that poster board or the big piece of paper. And then we flipped it over so that it looks like both of our feet are standing next to each other. We also folded our foot in half twice so we could get an imaginary line. And that's how we got this line. We put our foot along that and used the ruler to make that straight line across. We also measured our foot, the widest part of our foot, to get this part right here, which is about 1 inch away from your pattern. And then we made an arch around those 2 feet. So that's to catch everyone up if you needed a fast preview. And I've cut mine out. So now we're at the fun part. I feel like it's the fun part anyway. So, oh, one last thing. There's another picture, if Nancy will bring that up, is of you putting your foot in the middle and making and folding it up like this to make sure that it fits around your foot. That your foot, and it should be closed, it shouldn't be loose. Okay, so this will be your foot in the center, and you're just going to fold it up over your foot to make sure that it closes. If it doesn't close and it's like this, then your pattern isn't going to be big enough. If you have a whole bunch left over like this, we may need to trim some off a little bit. So the way you would do that is just fold it in half and then just kind of like trim it like that. If you need to do that, it'll be a good time to do that now.
Yeah, and it looks like I'm missing that picture specifically.
Okay. Maybe we had Louisa put her, we did a zoom in of that.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so I hope everybody kind of understands that. You just put your foot in the middle and it has to coat over your foot like that and it has to touch, okay? So I'm gonna go on to the next part, and that's getting your leather out. And right now you will need to decide whether you want this as your outside, which is like the smooth part, and then, or this side, which is the fuzzy part. I got black. I've never made black moccasins, but I think it's good for the negative space and everything, so you can see everything. And once you decide that, a lot of people, it's like half and half. Some people like it with this part, some people like it for the other part. And one of the things that you'll need to do is to decide where you want to put it, because you don't want like a hole in the middle of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. So say I don't want to put it right here. I'd want to put it right here, or like this. If I wanted to save some space, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace it, and then I'm going to flip it. And then, so then that's one side of your moccasin, that's your second side. So your full pair would get done with this side of the thing. So I'm going to let you all decide for a minute which one you want to do. And I'm going to go ahead and try to get a head start on you guys. So that's what I'm going to do with mine, is I'm going to just do it on this side. I wonder if my pen will show up. Nancy, does anyone have any questions?
I'm not seeing any right now that are pending. If you all do have questions along the way, or if you need us to repeat something, please just throw something in the chat, let us know. You might also have a feature to raise your hand, and then we can get a question from you too. So just please let us know if you have questions.
So what I do is, these are my little helpers, helping keep my my paper down so it's not moving everywhere. And I still get back out my ruler just so, because it's kind of hard to go along that paper to get a straight line. I want to see it. Yeah, I can see it. Okay. Just because I'm technical like that, I don't know why. I like math. Everything's got to have angles and all that. So like I said, you can pretty much just trace it. You don't have to do it like I am. Some people like to be more technical, others just go with the flow. And you're just going to trace around your cutout. So one of the things like I always like to talk about is like the stuff that they probably would have used back in the day to make theirs, to make their moccasins. So the sinew is basically like the tissue and stuff in your body, in the deer's body, that they would use for string and things like that, to bind things together. So it was automatically like waxy and strong. So that was what they used for a lot of things. As far as the awl, they would use like bones and like chisel them down, so that they could make the holes for lots of things, just to make whatever they needed to make. And as far as the scissors, that would probably be another thing. They would make something that was sharp enough, like with the bones or whatever, to cut it. They're probably a lot stronger than us too. So if you've already traced yours, which you can't, I don't think you can see it on the picture right here, but there's my lines. I'm just gonna flip it over and I'm gonna line it up. And like, it's okay if it's not like this. Like here, I made a little bitty one. See, if I had holes over here, so I had to like move it over a little bit. But even if there's holes there, you don't want to do it this way. You still can just trace it somewhere on the leather like I did the first one. So again, I'm gonna use my helpers. And by doing this, you don't have to remake this line. And then if anybody's ahead of me, you can go ahead and start cutting them out. Cutting your pattern out. Another thing about our ancestors is the women were the ones that made a lot of the clothing more than the men, because the men were probably out hunting and meeting and things like that. But the women were responsible for the home. So they were probably the ones that made the moccasins. They didn't really need moccasins. It wasn't something that they needed because they lived in like a grassy area, but they would need them through the winter. So it was more of a necessity during the winter time than it was as for like fashion or anything like that. Today, a lot of people try to make it more fashionable. They try to adorn them. Back then, I'm sure they did not care. We do another song. If you could do it. So right now I'm cutting mine out. When I get to do it all together, what I do is I cut the full one out, like all the way around, and then I just cut it down the middle. And like last year, I seen a girl do ribbon dance with their moccasins on. I was like, gosh, she's strong. Because these don't have very much padding. My daughter, she always had to wear hers because she was junior miss at one time. So one of the things you could do is like put those gel things in them, those foot gel, Dr. Scholl's or whatever they are in there. Another thing that I've seen is people put duct tape on the bottom because you know you're going to be wearing them a lot. It kind of gives them more of a hard sole. Our moccasins were simple. Like I said, it wasn't nothing that we needed to wear all the time, like the plains. You know, they had a more rocky place to walk, and like in Alaska, they needed fur and all kinds of other stuff. So ours was really simple. It was a center seam, just so right up the middle. You'll see today, though, that people put beads on them. They put fabric, just different stuff like that. And there's two types of moccasins. Usually you have the hard sole and the soft sole. So that's why ours is the soft sole. And the hard sole is usually at least two or more pieces sewn on one pair or one shoe, and this one just has one piece of leather. And then so see, I've cut mine out. Now I'm just going to cut it down the middle where that line is. If you have the book, I try to be as detailed as possible, and hopefully you can follow along on that. Let me see where we are on that part. And again, this is probably a good time just to make sure that when you fold it over, you put your foot in the middle, that it laps over just a little bit. Okay. Cut it out. Oh, so we're at the threading the needle right now. So you'll get your sinew, and one way to measure is 2 arms lengths. This is 2 arms lengths. This is 1 arm from your chest to the edge. And that should be enough for at least 1 moccasin. One of the tips that I use for threading is, since this is kind of waxy, you can use your fingertip to flatten it, and then I'll show you here. It's cutting it at an angle like that. And then it should go right through your needle. I can find what I did with the needle. But you'll thread your needle, and then you will knot it at the for both, so it will be a double threaded piece. And some people, like the younger ones, I know that it might be hard to make that knot. So if you have ever done a balloon, tied a balloon, just do it that way. So like if you tie a balloon, and you just do it like that. And then I at least always do 2 or 3 knots. So do it again. In a way that I guide it is I put my finger behind that knot and then just kind of like push it down over it. And I kind of get in the same spot. And then one more time. Again, put my finger behind it, and then it lands. See? So you got your thread. And the next thing we're going to do is we are going to do the top part of our moccasin. And so like if this is your inside, I can't really tell this. So if your soft part is this part, let me get my other one. So if your soft part is this one, you'll want to, if this is going to be your inside, then you'll do everything on this side. So see where all my markings are? That's the inside of my moccasin. But if I was going to make this the inside, then I will have to do everything on this side. Okay? So what we're going to do now is you're going to get your awl, and I'll use that at first. And you're going to fold your moccasin in half. I'm just trimming mine a little bit because it's almost even, but it's not, just because I want to. And you're going to get your awl. Make sure you have that folded piece of cardboard or your, this is called cutting board underneath. And you can either make dots, which I know it's hard to see on this. You can either make dots and put them close together, or you can just go ahead and start doing them. So you just go all around to almost about right here, making your holes. You want to make sure that it goes through both sides and not just like barely go through. And you want to try to make sure that it doesn't slide around a lot, so you don't have multiple holes that you don't know where they're going or which one they match up with. So the closer that you have the holes together, I'd say this is probably good. Like if you like it to where it looks like it's real tight, that's good. Otherwise it'll look a little bit loose, and that's fine too. Let me stop real quick and show you. So like, here's what the pucker toe looks like. This is an old one. See, those are pretty close together. The holes are really close together, and that's what causes it to bunch up like that. This is more of a loose one. The holes are wider apart, and we just did a running stitch going up. So that's one way. So there's no wrong way to do it. Just you don't want a lot of holes where you can see like your sock or your foot. And when you get done, this is like what it will look like. You'll have holes on both sides, and then you'll be able to match them up. So go ahead, and if Tyler wants to do a poll question while we're doing this, we can do that.
Absolutely. Nancy, do you want to queue up that other poll question we have? All right. So the other poll question is wanting to learn more about culture. So maybe this is your first time doing something that is part of your culture, and that's okay. But we're curious if you'd like to learn more about your culture.
These are pretty simple, huh?
100% said yes. That is awesome. And I think Cassandra, Nancy, Chris, I think we can probably all chime in some ways where, you know, what would be some ways that someone can learn more about their culture?
I'd say if you know an elder, that would be the first place. They are waiting to tell us things. That will be, especially if you have a grandma that you wasn't listening to. Sometimes if you just open up that conversation of like, I remember we asked my mom a crazy question because I never heard the story, like where she got married or anything. I don't know, because they were divorced. But I mean, just like listening, and we had a good time listening to that story. But anyways, like even her telling me about like her basketball days, you know, there's things that I don't know that about them and during that time. But like if you have an elder, like if my mom's mother was still alive, that would be my starting spot. But if you're involved in ceremonial grounds, church, that's the other part. And even just finding a mentor that you know is involved in those things. Because even today, like I still have mentors. I'm an adult, and I still look at some of the people that I know who know the language, who know the culture, like John, he does the stuff with the wood making. Billy Jack, he does the stuff with the cans. Just Dana Tiger, she does the painting, and the amount of information that she knows, that they know, is so big. It's like they say, it's their library, you know, their treasure. How about you, Chris?
I would say, personally for me, I know I have a bunch of family members that are more on the traditional side. So, especially when I moved back to Oklahoma, me and my family, we got involved more with our ceremonial grounds. So, yeah, I'd say a big one for me was attending my ceremonies and really getting to know who your people are and where you come from, you know. Getting to know like your tribal town, your clan, as well as just close relatives that you have. And yeah, just going to ceremonial grounds, it really helped me develop into, I would say, like the man I am today. You know, a lot of that stuff they teach out there, you know, part of Creek culture, it really molds you to something that, you know, a lot of people look for, you know, whether you go to ceremonial grounds, you know, people do it. Going to church, you know, same deal, you know, a lot of native churches like that, they kind of teach the same values. So yeah, that would be a big one for me, just kind of find out where you come from, if you have a ceremonial ground, or even just a church, you know, that'd be really good one for y'all. And also, always listen and ask, you know, if you have questions or you're curious about something, you know, you can always ask questions. And the main key to really learning about your culture is just listening and really practicing and going over what they tell you and trying to how would you say it, make it repetitive to where you can like remember it real easy. So that's my big advice to y'all.
Nice. That's really good advice.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick. This is, so anytime we start anything, we're going to put it through, and we'll go back through the same hole that we started. So anytime we start and anytime we finish, we're going to do that. Okay. So I'm just showing you on a scrap piece right now how to do that. The next thing I'm going to show you is a running stitch, just so you know what it is. A running stitch is, you'll go through both. So there, see, there's I went through both holes that are lined up together. And then I'll go to the next hole. So to me, I think of it as like a snake. And that's what it looks like. You'll just go up and down through each hole. The next thing I'm going to show you is a whip stitch. And all that is, so I say this doesn't exist, but I just came through here and I'm going to wrap it around this way and then go through the next hole. So that's a whip. Basically, you're going to whip it around the fabric. Oh, I don't know how that got there. And then to me, it kind of reminds me of a notebook. So you'll just keep going around through the hole, around through the hole. So running stitch, whip stitch. The next one is a baseball stitch. And it's a little bit different. You're going to go like you would tie shoes, you know, or when you're lacing your shoes where you go to the inside and then you go to that hole. You go to that next hole and they're kind of like staggered. I'll show you the ones. So you'll go to the inside like that. And then you'll go to the next side and go inside again. So like how baseball looks, like that. So that's the way the baseball stitch is. Here's one, like I was gonna undo this. So this is kind of like what the baseball stitch looks like. And like I said, this is the running stitch. See how it just went. Let me turn it inside out all the way. This is a running stitch like that. And then the other one is the whip stitch. And that one is, let's see if I did that on any of these. No, that's a baseball stitch. See, that's a baseball stitch too. Okay. And then the whip stitch is just bringing it around. So those are some stitches that we may or may not use. The running stitch is the easiest, and that's the one that we'll use in the beginning. So right now we're gonna open it up. This is my inside right here, and I'm gonna make a line. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out. You can do 4 or 5 out, just as long as it's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just gonna make a line. And I know you can't see it. Maybe if I do it this way. Just so you can see that, okay? And what we're gonna do next is this part right here where this, that's the pucker. That's what we're gonna make right now, okay? After that, it's pretty easy. So we're gonna use the running stitch. And like I said, when you get started, we might do that one at the end. When you get started, you usually want to go around, but that's only if you have it together. I'm not having anything together. I usually leave enough just in case if it happens to come unraveled, which it shouldn't because you have a big knot. That way I have some room to like make a tie. So we're going to use the running stitch. And we're going to start at that line that we made, 5 out. And we're just going to go through each hole. I like to make one more hole in the middle. You don't have to. Just if you want to. I think the black looks good just so y'all can see on the tape the video. what the stitch looks like. So I'm getting close to where I made that line. And I'm like, at it now. So what I'm doing now is I'm scrunching it, and it's going to make that little pucker like this. If you can kind of see, that's where the tip of your toe will be. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach it to this other side. And I'm going to go through both right here, just so that way it'll end up on the inside. And once we get started on actually sewing it up the middle, it should cover itself. I'm going to go through the open one, the next open one. That will be, hold on. Maybe I shouldn't go through that one. Okay, so now we'll decide whether you'll go up the top, just sewing these two together, and you can do the running stitch or the baseball stitch. I recommend doing the running stitch just because it's easier, and if you don't like it, you can always undo this and go back and do it later, like however you want the baseball stitch. Okay, so let me change this. Wait, no, that's right. Okay, sorry, I'm tripping, making myself think something. Okay, so this is my inside right here, and I went through and I tied these two together, or got these parts together, and I'm going to do the running stitch going up, and I'm going to go make sure that I'm going through the lined up holes. It's hard to see these holes. Okay. And like I said, it's just the running stitch. You're going to go through each hole, both sides. And if it's hard to get it through one of the holes, you just get your awl and go in there and twist it around until you can get all the way through. Because it shouldn't be that difficult. It should just go right in there. So as you can see, I'm just doing the running stitch all the way up. And you can make your holes go like all the way to there if you want, or if you want to stop right here and just check and see if that's how far you want it to go up, you can. I'm gonna go ahead and go all the way because I can check too and undo some if I need to. Okay. And then what you'll do now is you'll kind of just scrunch it down just like you did the top. And what we're going to do is turn it inside out or outside in. And you're going to see how it looks. And right here, this is at this point, you probably want to go ahead and try it on. So I'm going to go ahead and try this on. Let me move this. You don't have to tie it or anything yet. So it's hard to see with mine. Let's see if here, I'll try to put it up here. So that's what it looks like. And it's got the little pucker part. And I probably want mine to end right there. And you want to make sure that you have enough backing in this. Mine's going to be just enough. So that way, and it doesn't have to be like loose because you want it to fit kind of like a sock or a bootie that you're wearing at home, like a house. And right here, like I said, whenever we do this, lights out.
There we go.
When we get at that last part, we want to do what I said is go around to the other side and go back through that same hole. And we're going to go ahead and make our knot. And you can guide your knot by just putting your finger there and putting it right up against that leather so it's not getting all wild. And you can still leave like leave you some sinew hanging just so like you said, if you want to change it or if it comes loose, you have some space to work with. I'm gonna go ahead and do that as well. I got sinew at home. So we've already made, we're almost done. You want to do another question? Tyler?
Yes.
Oh, wait, before you do that. So what you'll do now, this one's pretty simple, but while he's doing the question, you'll be able to work on this, is you'll go ahead and line that up again. And we will not put any holes on this cuff, okay? Up here, this is the flap, the cuff. You'll just make dots, make your holes again going down the back. And you might want those a little bit closer together than you did your holes on the top. And just go ahead and do that. And then Tyler, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Sure. All right, the next question is mentors. And mentors came up from Chris and Cassandra a minute ago, but it's important to know. Here's one of the questions here is, do you have a trusted adult or mentor in your life? right. So all of you said that you do have a trusted adult or mentor in your life. And that's great. When we work with youth a lot, we always want to make sure that they have somebody who they can trust in their life that can help them out. Or if you have a friend that you're concerned about, maybe they don't have a trusted adult or a trusted mentor in their life, you can always tell your mentor about that, or your trusted adult about that friend that you're worried about, so they can try to find help for that person you're concerned about. So we're always wanting to make sure that you have a trusted adult in your life that can help you out whenever you're struggling. So that's awesome.
Okay, so one of the things that I just made my holes, and one of the things I did is sometimes I like to cut a little curve because your heel is curved. I did it on this one, so it does look kind of funny when I didn't do it. So if you want to do that little curve, you can do that, and then just put your holes that go along it. And this is at this point, this is kind of when you can pick another kind of stitch. Is you could do the baseball stitch, the whip around stitch, or you could do the running stitch again, which the running stitch is easy, but you want to turn it back outside in and work from there. Okay, so that way you're not seeing all your sinew. And I'm just going to do the easy one again, I think.
Hey, Cassandra, we have a question in the chat. That whiteboard that you're using right now, is that the cutting board?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't make these holes very wide, so I might be needing to. So again, we're going through, and we're starting at the heel. Sorry about that. We're starting at the heel, and we're going through. Oh, don't forget to knot your thread either. And we're gonna go around like we did like I said, when you start one, and all that does is it kind of secures it, and it doesn't let this knot come so unraveled when you're wearing it for a long period of time. In which I'm going to probably have to make my holes bigger. So I'm going to do that. And while y'all are deciding whether y'all want to do the running stitch or which one you want to do. And you'll see why I like this hole punch much better than I like the awl. It's a lot faster. So I made my holes a little bit closer than I did the other one, just because I like the look a little bit better. And after this, you'll have your first moccasin. Can you tell us how we are on time and everything? Tyler or Nancy?
We are right at 5:12, so I think you're making good time.
Okay. It's hard without an assistant doing my sewing for me. Someone who's really fast at sewing. I don't think I'm as fast at sewing. I don't do it enough, like hand sewing. And then, so when you get done with that running stitch, again, you're just gonna scrunch it down a little bit, not too much. Because what you're gonna do is you're gonna try it on again to make sure that that's how far you want it to be before you actually. See how that back looks. See the zigzags. So you'll try it on again, and if that's where the way you want it to fit, that's as high as you want it to go up your ankle, you'll then tie it off. So you will make sure that that's what you want. Tyler, how many more questions do you have?
I really just have one, but we can go ahead and wait till
The end.
the end for that one.
Okay. So I'm trying mine on, and I love how it fits. So I'll show y'all. Hold on a second. Pull it out of here. And I wish you could see. I'm gonna come over here. Maybe it's a little bit brighter over there. No, if it is or not. Let's see. Put it up against here. So see, there it is. It looks pretty good. And like if I didn't put the flaps on it, then
Those look really good, Cassandra.
I love them. I love the black. Woo. And then so like I like where it's hitting in the back. So right there, that's where I'll tie it off. And you've already made your moccasin, so you already know what to do on the second part. Will we need to go on and do that one, or?
No, we'll just do this first one, and then folks can watch the video. Like Cassandra said, she has a link in her workbook that you all got, or the book, that can take you straight to her video. And then we also have that video and the video from the last time, and we'll post this one from this class on our YouTube page. So you have 3 different times Cassandra teaching moccasins.
I just want to say that, like, now you're your own designer. You can make your mocks however you want. If you want to add beads, if you're a beader, you can do that. If you're a male, one thing that I've seen different is they've used a piece of they make leggings. So just getting a larger piece and wrapping it around and then tying it up your leg. That's another way. So there's some pictures in your booklet. And also with your leather, you should have some left over. So like if you wanted to make those leggings and you're like, I don't have like string, what I've done before to make string, even when I'm like doing dream catchers or whatever, is you just make you a line going straight down an edge, and you can have your own string. I'll just go that far. But see, you can make your own leather string using what you have. Another thing that I had told Nancy is you can even probably look up how to make a medicine pouch. Those are really easy because you know all the stitches now. You can use your cell phone for a pattern. And that's it. Mado.
Awesome. Mado, Cassandra. Let's go ahead and put up that final polling question. All right. So how did it feel making moccasin today? Were you frustrated? Were you happy? Inspired? Did it make you a little anxious? Did you feel relaxed? How did it feel working on the moccasins? And for most, it was your first time. So how did it go? And feel free to also put in the chat how you felt about it. All right, so most felt relaxed, which is awesome. Some felt inspired, and one person felt happy. That's awesome.
I get anxious.
You get anxious?
Oh, I didn't know you could still hear me. Yes, I get anxious. But that's why
We can hear you.
That's why I do art. That's why I love art, because that's the only thing that is like it, just like sports, you know, like that's why I used to play sports. It's like just a relaxing feeling.
Yeah. See, for me, this kind of project here, when it comes to arts and crafts, I would be the one that would say it makes me anxious. I'm just not very good at it. When it comes to like painting or home remodeling or like playing music, that's where my relaxation comes in. But you made, I mean, half the people here were relaxed by your presentation, Cassandra, so that's good.
Has anybody finished a moccasin yet? If you'll tell us in the chat. And then I also put my cell phone number. I'd love to see pictures of your finished moccasins, even if it's just one. We'd love to see both of them when you get those done. But if you've got one finished, please go ahead and text it to us. We'd like to have that for the class, just to kind of see your work and how you were able to do. Anyone finished one? Tell us if you have.
I'm going to put a Nike sign on this one.
I was thinking they look like Vans kind of, especially in the black.
Yeah, they look pretty nice. They look clean.
Yeah, those blacks are really, really nice. I'm going to have to work on a pair for myself.
You've taken 2 classes, Nancy.
I know. I could do them at the house, you'd think.
Charlie knows how to make them, so he could probably be your assistant if you needed anything.
Yes, we were talking about that after the last class, because he did a pair of the last class, and I was telling him I wanted to get some leather and do a pair for myself.
Yeah.
Isabel said she's not finished yet. She's got to look at the video to finish the needlework. But she says, thanks for putting all of this together. So much fun. Yeah, I'm glad you made it, Isabel. And the boys say Mado to all, Eli and Isaiah. Thank you guys for attending. We appreciate it. They had some big old feet sizes. That's how I remember their names, because they had some big feet.
Oh, Charlie.
Yes, my baby has big feet too, like that.
Yeah, his was huge. I was like, that time we did, that was when they were little.